Welcome to African Tales and Stories, where every tale under the moonlight becomes a journey through the heart of Africa. Today, we bring the magic of African folk tales and the wisdom of African stories right to your screen, from the ancient folklore to tales that dance with the stars. Join us as we keep the timeless tradition of storytelling alive. Ready for an adventure? Let's dive into today's story. But before we begin, if you love these tales as much as we do, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to never miss a journey with us. In the heart of Imo, where the Injaba River flows gently by the ancient Umaka village, the legend of the son of the sun was born. Chidi was his name, and the villagers often whispered that the sun seemed to have caressed his face more tenderly than others. Chidi's life in Umaka was as bright as the skies above. His mother, Adana, daughter of beauty, had a laugh that danced like the light on the river, and her love for Chidi knew no bounds. She told him stories of the gods, of the earth, and of the fiery sun that blessed their land with abundance. But joy, like the sun sets, and so did the light in Chidi's life, was when Adana was taken by a swift illness. In her place, Chidi's father, overwhelmed by grief, soon brought home a new wife, Kosi. Kosi's heart, unlike Adana's, was a thorny bush, pricking Chidi's existence with her sharp disdain. Kosi's entrance into Chidi's life cast long shadows over the once bright and lively homestead. She observed the boy, whose every step seemed to be guided by the silent whispers of the wind, whose laughter resonated with the joy of the gods, and whose destiny, it was murmured, was to ascend as a leader of Umaka. Her heart grew bitter as she saw the special attentions that the villagers paid him, attention she coveted for herself. One fateful night, under the shroud of darkness, Kosi moved quietly to the edges of Umaka, where an old native doctor known as Ezenwai lived. The air around her heart was thick with the scents of herbs and the mysteries of the land. With eyes that saw through time, Ezenwai listened as Kosi spoke of Chidi, her words coated with venom. Ezenwai, I seek to bind Chidi's feet to the earth, so he may never rise above me, Kosi whispered. Her voice trembled with malice. The native doctor, skilled in the arts of the unseen, understood the wickedness that brewed in Kosi's heart. But the gods were always watching, and Ezenwai knew better than to cross them. So she took a picture of Chidi from Kosi, a picture captured in a moment of innocence, and performed the ritual, mumbling incantations that were old when the world was young. However, the gods had different plans for Chidi, plans that no human wickedness could thwart. As Kosi left, believing her dark desires would come to pass, Ezenwai whispered to the night, no harm shall come to the child of destiny. In the days that followed, Chidi felt a strange heaviness in his spirit. Yet, every night, he dreamt of the sun, warm and embracing, assuring him that he was not alone. The villagers began to notice signs too. Crops flourished in fields where Chidi walked, and rain came to quench the earth when he sang. It was clear that the gods were with him. But Kosi watched with mounting frustration as her plans failed to bear the fruits of Chidi's downfall. She knew she had to weave a more cunning web to ensure the boy whom the sun seemed to protect. In Umaka, the heartbeat of the village lay in its central square, where the revered Iroko tree stretched its branches towards the heavens as if in prayer. It was here during the vibrant market days that a precious ikenga, a wooden symbol of strength and masculinity, went missing from the village chief's hut. Kosi took advantage of the bad situation and quietly spread harmful rumors among the villagers about Chidi, who had once admired the Ikenga's craftsmanship. Her words grew in the villagers' minds like seeds in good ground. They started to doubt Chidi, looking at him with suspicion instead of the warmth they had before. The chief, the stern man bound by tradition, called Chidi before the village. Kosi's accusation rang loud and clear, painting Chidi as a thief, unworthy of the destiny that had been foretold. Despite Chidi's protest and the lack of any good proof, the fear of dishonor and the weight of ancestral custom swayed the villagers' judgment. Chidi, until the Ikenga is returned, you are banished from Umaka, declared the chief, his voice echoing the finality of Chidi's fate. Overwhelmed by sadness, Chidi had to leave his home, burdened only by false accusations. His exit was quiet, without the celebration that someone meant for big things should have had. As Chidi crossed the threshold of Umaka, the skies darkened, and for the first time in many years, the sun hid behind the clouds, as though mourning the injustice done to its chosen child. Chidi, heart heavy with sorrow, walked into the vastness of lands unknown, his spirit seeking the warmth of the sun that seemed to have forsaken him. Yet, even in these moments of despair, Chidi felt the faintest touch of warmth on his back, a silent assurance that he was not forgotten by the gods, nor by the sun above. Chidi's first steps into exile were heavy with despair, yet with each new sunrise, his stride grew firmer. The sun continued to follow him, a faithful companion on his journey, reminding him of the drop of divinity that flowed in his vein. He traversed through thick forests where the air was dense with the whispers of ancient trees, and across rivers that sang of freedom and the journeys of many before him. The lands beyond Umaka were both harsh and beautiful, filled with the myriad of people and cultures. In a village named Owere, Chidi encountered kindness in an elderly woman, Inyoma, who saw his good heart. She offered him shelter and, in return, Chidi worked in her yam fields, his labor bringing forth a bounty that the village had not seen in years. Here, Chidi learned the value of hard work and the sweetness of gratitude. But not all roads were paved with kindness. At Ozara, he met the sting of betrayal when a fellow laborer, envious of Chidi's strength, falsely accused him of hoarding grain. Chidi faced this trial with the quiet dignity that Inyoma had taught him, leaving the village with his integrity intact. Each challenge taught Chidi a new virtue: patience in hardship, joy in simple things, and strength in truth. He began to understand that these trials were not merely obstacles, but stepping stones to his destiny. It was in the town of Okigwe that Chidi's character was truly tested. A terrible drought had fallen upon the land, and the people were in despair. Chidi, remembering the songs his mother taught him, sang to the heavens, his voice carrying the weight of his journey and the hope of his people. Miraculously, as if moved by Chidi's plea, the skies opened and rain blessed the parched earth. The people of Okigwe rejoiced, and they saw in Chidi not a cursed exile, but a blessed soul. They called him Ogbuagu, the killer of lions, for his courage. As Chidi left Okigwe, a man wiser and more grounded than the boy, who had been banished from Umaka, he carried with him the blessings of the people, the heart full of learned virtues, and the silent promise of the sun that his journey was far from over. Chidi's travels eventually brought him to the threshold of a sanctuary, hidden within the lush embrace of the Afi mountain range. There, he met a sage known simply as Okeke, the one born on the market day, whose wisdom was as vast as the lands Chidi had traversed. Okeke noticed the divine glow on Chidi's eyes and immediately recognized him as the son of the sun, the prophesied child. With Okeke as his mentor, Chidi explored the secrets of the sun, the earth, and the spirits connecting them. He understood that every creature had a role in the vast mosaic of existence, and each destiny was an essential piece contributing to the entirety. As the days turned to months, Chidi came to understand the language of the sun. Each morning, as he greeted the dawn, the sun whispered secrets of leadership, justice, and the power of unity. This lesson etched themselves into Chidi's soul, preparing him for the day he would return to Umaka. One day, as Chidi meditated under the intense noon sun, he felt an overwhelming warmth envelop him. In that moment, a vision of Umaka in turmoil came to him. The village was suffering under the rule of a heartless chief, and the people's cry for help rose to the skies. In the vision, the sun descended gently upon Chidi, gifting him a radiant staff of light, a symbol of true leadership and divine right. It was a sign that his time of return was near, and that he was destined to lead his people to peace and prosperity. With Okeke's blessing and the staff of light by his side, Chidi knew it was time to reclaim his place in Umuaka. He had become a man of wisdom and virtue, shaped with the trials of the world and the teachings of the sage. As he bid farewell to Okeke, the sage smiled, knowing that Chidi's journey was a story woven by the gods themselves, a story that would inspire generations. With the wisdom of the sage and the staff of light as his guide, Chidi started his way back to Umuaka. His return was filled with both nervousness and determination. The village he had left behind had changed. Chidi came back to Umuaka with modesty, his kingly presence disguised as a simple traveler. The Umuaka he found was a shadow of its former self, stricken with strife and people's hearts filled with unease. The new chief, chosen after the revered old chief's passing, ruled with a heavy hand and a cold heart. The warmth of the community that had once embraced Chidi was gone, replaced by a chilling fear that touched every homestead. Chidi listened to their stories, his heart heavy with their pain, yet he found no trace of Kosi. It seemed she had vanished, like mist in the heat of the sun. Night after night, he sat under the great Iroko tree in the central square, the same tree under which he had been banished, and shared tales of a land where justice and kindness reigned supreme. Word of the wise traveler spread, and soon Chidi's nightly gatherings grew. His story rekindled a flame of hope in the villagers' hearts, and his counsel of matters, both trivial and grave, was sought after. The chief, hearing of this stranger who swayed the people with his words, summoned Chidi. Standing before the chief and the villagers, Chidi felt the staff of light grow warm in his grasp. It was then he cast off his traveler's cloak, revealing his true self, and the staff shone brightly, illuminating the square with a brilliance that echoed the light of the sun. "The son of the sun returns," an elder whispered, and the crowd gasped as they recognized Chidi, transformed from the boy they once knew. Witnessing the respect and affection the people had for Chidi, along with the radiant light from his staff, the chief felt a wave of fear. Yet, Chidi talked only of pardon and coming together, not revenge. Touched by Chidi's speech and the clear legitimacy of his leadership, the chief resigned, presenting Chidi with the chance to lead Umaka. Chidi accepted, not out of desire for power, but from a genuine calling to serve his people. He forgave Kosi in his heart, releasing any bonds of bitterness, for he knew that his destiny was not forged by human actions, but by the will of the gods. As the first light of dawn caressed the rooftops of Umaka, a new chapter for the village was about to be inscribed. The villagers, with newfound hope flickering in their eyes, gathered to witness a moment that will be etched in their memory for generations to come. The ascension of Chidi, the son of the sun, to the throne of his ancestors. Chidi stood before the people, not as a ruler who towers above, but as one who walks amongst them. The staff of light, now a symbol of his divine right and the unity of Umaka, rested gently on his hands. He addressed the villagers, his voice steady and imbued with the wisdom of the sun. "My people of Umaka, the sun does not shine on us from above to cast us in shadow, but to light the path we walk together. As your king, I shall be the servant of all, for in service we find true strength." The declaration was met with cheers that danced on the morning breeze, reaching the far corners of the land. The elders, adorned in robes that whispered of the village's rich heritage, stepped forward to bless Chidi. Each word spoken, each libation poured, was an affirmation of Chidi's rightful place as king. The coronation was a tapestry of tradition and joy. The dancers' feet beat a rhythm of celebration into the earth. The drummer's hands called forth the heartbeat of Umaka, and the air itself seemed to shimmer with the promise of a prosperous reign. In the fullness of the day, under the gaze of the sun that had never truly forsaken him, King Chidi was crowned. He vowed to lead with the virtues he had learned to sow: patience, reap joy, and wield truth. The staff of light placed beside the throne shone as a testament to his journey, a beacon for all who would follow. As the celebrations waned and the night wrapped Umwaka in its embrace, the villagers retired to their homes with spirits lifted. Chidi, now King Chidi, sat upon the throne, a humble smile gracing his lips. He knew that his journey had only just begun, for a king's work is never done. But he was ready to face the challenges ahead with the wisdom of the sun in his heart. King Chidi's reign was marked by a return to the harmonious days of old, with the warmth of unity and the light of progress shining upon Umwaka once more. The village blossomed under his leadership, becoming a beacon of prosperity and wisdom in the region. From the fertile farmlands to the bustling marketplaces, the villagers thrived. Chidi instituted councils where the voices of the people could be heard, and wisdom from every corner of Umaka was woven into the fabric of governance. The children ran laughing through the village paths, their innocence protected and their futures bright. Chidi often walked among his people, not as a distant figurehead, but as a member of the community. His rule was not one of the edicts or decrees, but of dialogue and understanding. His decisions were made with the welfare of all in mind, reflecting the lessons of compassion and justice he had learned during his time with Inyoma, the trials of Ozara, and the wisdom imparted by Okeke. The people of Umaka, once divided by fear and suspicion, now celebrated their unity. The annual festival of the sun became a time of particular rejoicing, not only for the abundance of the harvest, but also for the remembrance of their king's journey and the divine favor that rested upon him. As years passed, the story of Chidi, son of the sun, spread far and wide, becoming a legend that was told and retold. The picture that Kosi had taken to the native doctor became a symbol not of a curse, but of the indomitable spirits of Umuaka's beloved king. It reminded the people that no darkness could quench the light destined to shine. King Chidi grew old, his afro now touched with the wisdom of grey, but his eyes remained very bright, ever watching the horizon. He had come to understand that his legacy was not in the riches of his kingdom, but in the hearts of his people, and in the stories that would carry on the existence of his spirit for generations to come. Under the boughs of the great Iroko tree, children played, their laughter a testament of the enduring legacy of King Chidi, a legacy of light, love, and unity, a legacy that, like the sun, would never fade. This tale of Chidi, son of the sun, weaves together the threads of myth, wisdom, and the human spirit, telling a story of triumph over adversity, of the power of destiny, and of the enduring light within us all.